Thanks for making the time today to say hey and chat Sweetwater.
Oh no, the pleasure is mine, and thank you for making time. I'll go ahead and jump in because I know you don't have much of it, but I was not as familiar with Sweetwater's story. I gotta admit, before kind of reading about the movie and being able to dive into it. I'm guessing I'm not alone in that, but how much did that actually come up for you while you were doing your research for the movie, for the film, and why was this an important story for you to tell?
Oh, Prince, great questions. I appreciate that. And that is the heart of it all. That is the purpose of it. What kept me going for so long over the years researching it. I really wanted to know what happened. I wanted to understand because I've always been a fan of creative personalities, people who bring something creative to art, whether it's in music, whether it's in art itself, whether it's in a sport. I think we all watch the game for that reason, to see, whoa, did you see that move? Like that kind of thing. So I grew up playing street ball in New York City and always lived for that. And when I bumped into this story, I thought, well, wait a minute. The culture that I grew up with, where I come from, my DNA, that even goes back thousands of years to, my great, 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 great descendants who originally came from Morocco. I was born in Argentina, and there was like this sort of like global understanding that sport and music brings us together, art brings us together, laughter brings us together, creativity brings us together. And Prince, I found all those elements, all that code, that algorithm existed in this story. Sweetwater Clifton, in all of my research over the years, exemplified a lot of what I believe in and what I jump out of bed to experience in life every day. And being Hispanic, being Sephardic and Jewish, I also encountered a lot of the cultural challenges that he did, and I identified with that too. So for me, the touchstone was like, wow, we've come a long way. We've come a long way, no doubt about it. That was 73 years ago. That could be a long time. It could be a short time, which just dictates that we have a long ways to go. And that kept me going, saying, okay, this is a message that says, let's evolve, let's move on, let's learn more, let's do it together. So with that idealistic concept, I wanted it to fit into a reality, which is that this happened, and it wasn't necessarily that long ago. Let's learn from it, and let's make sure that we share that with as many hearts, as many souls as possible. And cinema is such a powerful medium, some so oftenly misused or misutilized. I thought, let's also make it entertaining. I want this to have all the things that I love in life. I love laughter. I love history. I love stories I've never heard of before. That's called education, right? Or being informed or being tickled. I love basketball, big time. And I love music. And so I purposely wanted to encompass all of these things, my journey, and try to put it all into one piece if possible, right? It's very not easy to do, but this story, for some reason, has all those elements very organically in what actually happened. So all I had to do is channel it, and we did it with this amazing family of actors and creative personnel that we all had the same feeling that we were on a mission to get this story done authentically, so that it could be taken in emotionally, right? Emotion equals truth. And anyway, all I can say is that it was by far one of the most inspiring and fulfilling and impactful, challenging journeys that I've ever had in my entire life. Probably other than being born. I don't even want to go there. Sorry about that.
Well, and you touched on a lot there. I guess first thing, I'm glad you mentioned just kind of growing up playing street ball, because I did want to ask about kind of your relationship to sports. I know this isn't your first sports film, but uh, I was going to ask whether you were kind of just more of a casual observer or are you a big fan. But it sounds like not only are you a fan of sports, you were once an athlete at one point.
Indeed, man. And I still punish myself. I still go out and play I live in LA and I play in entertainment league circles. It's really fun, except when I have to go to the restroom in the middle of the night and I crawl. But from putting out so much physical energy, I grew up in 92nd Street in New York City, and as a kid, whenever I went to the park to play ball, I noticed that any type of conflicts between people would disappear. Didn't matter what color you were, didn't matter what your theological background was, didn't matter what culture you came from, didn't matter what your opinion was on anything. The game brought us together. All of that would go away for the most part. And so I found solace, I found peace in playing the game. Similarly to when I played music with other folks when I was a kid, it was like, oh, they would see me play the piano, and suddenly all the judgment would disappear. And so I always identify with that. As I was growing up, I would start playing down at West 4th. And when I moved to LA, Venice Beach is like a place that I identify with. And so I always identify with that style of play when somebody would bring that into the system and break through the system and have these paradigm shifts. Because when I played ball in high school and even in college, it was always like I had to play inside a system, a box. And if I got outside that box, the coach wouldn't like it, or sometimes other players didn't appreciate it. So now we know that that is a part of the game. It has finally evolved to that. And I was always kind of, that's what I think really attracted me to this story more than anything, is that Sweetwater Clifton was somebody who really wanted to just bring that element, creativity, to the game. And that spilled over into culture.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the challenges in getting this film done. What were those? What was the hardest part about telling this story and getting it to the big screen?
Two challenges. Great question. Two challenges. One was just to try to find the information, because it wasn't, when I started working on this in the 90s, there was no Google, and I had to run into libraries or track people down. Everything from the older reporters who were around back then, people like Pete Hamill were very helpful. Red Auerbach was very helpful. Will Chamberlain was very helpful. Meadowlark Lemon was very helpful. Saperstein family, the Lapchick family, the Vandewey family, the Sweetwater family, and others that I bumped into. That was really challenging, man. I mean, Prince, I have to tell you, some people didn't necessarily want to talk about it, and other people were like, let me tell you what I know happened, because I was there. And little by little, right? And the second challenge was getting people to believe in it. That it was a story that really needs to be told. It was really difficult, to walk into so many hundreds of places, whether it's a film studio, a production company, an investment firm, high-profile individuals who I thought would identify with this. And there was a trepidation, potentially from fear, or maybe just, I know in my heart of hearts, it's just the timing wasn't right. And I do believe that this came together because the right people came together at the right time. There was a chemistry, and also culturally speaking, coming out of the pandemic, I think it was, the world is a little more prepared to embrace this, and embrace it with empathy and proliferation of this message is so key on every level. And I think that the pure fact that people are enjoying this story or accepting it means that we overcame those challenges. I will tell you that along the way, I had to fight for certain things about the story that were true. I didn't want this story to get dumbed down in any way. I wanted the story to have the edge that it has, but also be inspiring so that it could be embraced. It was a tricky code to crack.
So, obviously we hear about Jackie Robinson a lot. This will be my last question. And then even more recently, Fritz Pollard comes up and Bobby Marshall in the NFL. Why do you think someone like Sweetwater's story gets lost in all of that, as far as the athletes who kind of broke the color barrier?
I think it's a combination that the NBA was a young league at the time. It was not the prevalent league that it is now. I mean, it's arguably potentially, other than soccer, the biggest sport on the planet. And I think that's one of the reasons. The other one is that it was so much gray area in the story that along the way, nobody took the time to just clean that up and say, okay, here's what happened, for good, bad, or indifferent. Let's embrace it. And here we are finally doing that.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the film, Martin. I appreciate your time. Are you an
Oh,
Argentina fan? Do you root for the national team? Soccer?
you know, only when they win.
I think they did that, so I guess it's a good time.
I appreciate that, Prince. With all kidding aside, I've always followed it. My dad was a big soccer fan, as he used to call it, football.
Yeah. Man, well, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, you too, man. A pleasure meeting you. Great chatting with you,
Same.
man.
Same.
All
The
right,
pleasure's mine.
Take care, brother.
Bye.